Hi everyone. Often on social media, FPL managers like to sing from the rooftops when they've had a fantastic success in a given game week. It's very rare that we discuss our failures. I thought it best to take this opportunity to talk about my worst ever game week in FPL history. And as you can see on screen there, yes, it does involve Olivier Giroud, and it took place on Boxing Day 2014. The consequence of what happened fundamentally changed the way I played FPL forever. So first of all, the 14-15 season started off fantastically for me. I had an array of differentials in my team, and remarkably, they paid off superbly. And in terms of my overall rank from the previous seasons, I was 110th in the world in 11-12. I was 5k during the 12-13 season, and I was 34k during the 13-14 season. So I had a relatively high overall rank history in the previous seasons, and I was hoping to go back to the upper tiers once again. And it was interesting. This came at a time when I began to leverage stats. I was a member of Analytics FC early on, but it was more for me to find my own patterns and look for differentials that people weren't jumping on, basically. In my case, I basically went for my own differentials over more high owned players. So in the case of Arsenal, I would choose Santi Cazorla over Alexis Sanchez. Obviously, there was a bit of a price difference there, and over the course of the season, Sanchez comfortably outscored Cazorla. But in those early game weeks, they were going toe to toe in terms of the points that they scored. Another miss I had in that early part, which arguably, he was a differential at that time, it was Harry Kane. I just completely took his rise for granted, and I only bought him after he was fully settled into the Spurs team. I had missed the bandwagon, but at the same time, my rank was ticking along quite nicely. By Boxing Day 2014, I was 6k in the world, and that was as a result of some fantastically risky captaincy picks, which paid off superbly. I recall in one instance, I captained Cesc Fabregas on a Monday night when hardly anyone captained him. He got a double-digit haul, and that just catapulted my rank. So with this mindset of picking whoever I wanted, captaining on gut instinct, that was my mindset during that era. So being 6k in the world, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to push on and take even more risks. And ultimately, that was my undoing, as you can see on the subsequent screen. So I bought in Olivier Giroud, and he ended up getting a red card. And not only did I buy him, I captained him, and he got sent off before the hour mark. So the negative points were quite severe for me. But what made it worse, in my case, wasn't the fact that I just bought and captained him, but it was the other players that I'd bought and sold and the lost points ultimately. I sold Wayne Rooney to get Olivier Giroud in, and the reason I sold Wayne Rooney was that was during a time when he was he was playing in a more withdrawn role, almost like a midfielder. So I thought to myself, I'm not paying a premium amount for an FPL striker who plays as a midfielder, so I can get rid of him. And the moment I sold Rooney, he got a haul against Newcastle United. So effectively, by selling Rooney and getting Giroud in, that was a -16 swing right there. I also bought in Zabaleta for a -4, and he didn't play at all on Boxing Day. So that was another loss there. And also, I had Charlie Austin in my team as well, who was somewhat of a sensational budget option during the 14-15 season. And he scored in that match, as you can see there. Unfortunately, I lost 7 points on the bench, thought that Arsenal could keep a clean sheet against QPR. In total, due to the transfers that I made and the captaincy pick of Olivier Giroud, I effectively lost 31 points during that game week, and I scored well below the average. I had half a dozen other players who did pick up fancy returns for me. I literally could have captained any of them instead of Olivier Giroud. So my overall rank went from 6k to 19k in that one game week, which, 19k is still top 20k. Even back then, that was considered a respectable rank. But for me, it was a complete shock to my system because my overall rank up to Boxing Day was just going up and up and up, just getting green arrows. And then this incident took place with the red card. That was probably the last ever time I bought in a player just for 1 week on a punt and then captained them as a differential captain. It really dawned upon me that how different my team was from the template. And I didn't automatically have in my mindset that, oh, I should captain obvious, oh, I should conform to the template. I was completely shocked that my differentials failed on me. The fact they didn't work, that also had a knock-on effect on me as well in terms of how I use stats. And I, from that point onwards, stopped deep diving into stats. I took a step back altogether from like Stats FC, you could say. I was never the same manager from that point onwards. And Boxing Day 2014, from an overall rank perspective, was significant because then from Jan 2015 to December 2020, I wasn't even ranked in the top 10k. That shows you how much of a macro level event it was for me as an FPL manager, that apart from the psychological blow, I just couldn't break into the top 10k for a period of 5 years. I think the biggest learning for me at that point was how going against a template could really decimate your rank, but it took a long time for me to understand that. And yeah, I look back at Boxing Day 2014, I can laugh at it now, but yeah, it like from a personal level, it was just a complete shock, and it took a long time for me to get over it. And in all honesty, until I broke into the top 10k again in December 2020, I think that was probably closure for me from an FPL perspective, without sounding too melodramatic. I remember exactly where I was. I knew exactly what I was doing when he got that red card. That will forever be in my mind as an FPL manager, and it fundamentally changed the way I play FPL as well. I might not have radically changed the way I played straight away, but it put seeds in my mind as to how I ought to play the game ultimately. And a few years down the line, I began to adopt coping mechanisms and techniques to ensure that such an instance wouldn't affect me again. And I would hope that the approach that I take, it reduces the number of dark red arrows that I have. Of course, we're all going to get red arrows throughout the season, but if I can play in a specific way and I don't have any more Boxing Day massacres like I did on 2014, then I'm completely content with that. So there you have it. That was my worst ever game week in FPL history. Please let me know of your worst ever game weeks in the comments below. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.